as you mentioned, I'm going to talk about the Nvidia Orin, but the Nvidia Orin is part of a bigger picture, really, with the Nvidia Drive platform. So the Nvidia Drive platform has 3 ranges, which seems to be familiar with these platforms. So they sort of go up in autonomy. So obviously, with more autonomy comes more processing power that's needed. With the entry level stuff, you're looking at sort of AI in the car, AI sort of functionality, such as voice recognition, that sort of stuff. Then you can go into the sort of level 3, level 4 autonomy. And then with the big boys, like, the sort of, what the NIO is using, the Nvidia Drive Orin, you're looking at 1,000 tops, which doesn't matter if you don't know what that means, but it basically just means it's got a lot of power behind it, and it can do pretty much any complicated task that you're asking it to do. We mentioned in the NIO podcast that we did, the sort of throughput that was going through that. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but
I believe it was 8 gigabytes a second.
8 gigabytes a second, right? Well, I think you said in that podcast as well, Christian, that's like 2 4K movies a second,
every second,
which is crazy. And that is what this Nvidia Drive Orin brings to the table. I believe the NIO will be one of the first cars to have the Nvidia Drive Orin on it, but there are other vehicles such as the XPeng, Volvo, Mercedes are looking at putting it on their cars as well. And it's a significant piece, really, but we'll talk about it in more detail once Christian has introduced his hardware, which is the Snapdragon Ride.
Yeah, absolutely. And so very much in the same vein, I think Qualcomm have used what is now becoming the standard for level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and level 5 automation. And very similarly, you get a step up in hardware profile from each of the levels, starting from a relatively low level system on chip, really, that is controlling the basic AI in the car, to then a step up from that to give you extra conveniences, and the level 4 and level 5 then is full on autonomy. So you've got self-driving, which requires, as we know from the NIO, a huge amount of data. And the Qualcomm, so they're quoting 700 tops, not 1,000. But we are aware that the Nvidia Orin that's being used in the NIO, they're actually using 4 of them, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
All put together, which presumably is able to split up each of the important priorities for each of those levels, and enables them then to add those extra tops via that. But what we have to bear in mind is that the processing power equates almost directly to power consumption, which could or may not be a problem going forward, depending on battery states and otherwise.
Yeah, I believe the NIO is 800 watts for that Orin.
So 800 watts. So that's nearly a kilowatt every hour. Now, bearing in mind, did they say 135 kilowatt hours of battery on the car?
It was something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, I'd have to confirm that. Please don't take that as read. But if you're in that car then for 5 to 6 hours, you're using 6 of those kilowatt hours, or 4 to 5 of those kilowatt hours. Just
150 kilowatt hours.
150 kilowatt hours. So you're using 1% just on the processing power of the car, which actually, I suppose, at those levels, that's not as big an issue, is it? If that was in a Nissan Leaf, for instance, at say 40 kilowatt hours, that would make all the difference. But I suppose at 150 kilowatt hours, actually, maybe that's a worry over nothing at all. You could probably slam a few more in there and still not. You'd run out because of driving before you'd run out because of the stereo or whatever you were using at a high level. Well, that's not to mention the fact that if you've got loud music on, you're probably going to be using another couple of kilowatt hours of power.